Frisco, a desolate ghost town in Utah, is often remembered as a significant mining town. However, it also has a lesser-known past so notoriously lawless and unsavory that it was once described as Dodge City, Tombstone, Sodom, and Gomorrah, all rolled into one. 45 minutes west of Beaver, Utah, an intrepid explorer will locate the remains of a once bustling and thriving mining town, Frisco.
Today we are in Frisco, Utah, known as one of the most deadly Wild West towns. Look at the old construction, you can see the old walls. How amazing is that? And we're gonna head up here now. We're gonna check out, you can see what looks to be an old dam and some more buildings.
The story of Frisco is nearly identical to the story of almost any other Western mining town. A rich ore discovery, a flood of humanity coming to strike it rich on the find, the birth of a town, the end of the mines, and ultimately the end of the town. Like each Western boom town, Frisco had its own share of exciting and shocking stories. First and foremost, it's important to note that Frisco, set within the San Francisco mining district, seemed predestined to the boom-bust life cycle of other towns. All around the San Francisco mountains, rich bodies and veins of ore, primarily silver, drew miners and merchants to the general vicinity. Mills, mines, and towns sprouted up like desert wildflowers after a wet winter, only to eventually wilt and fade away like those flowers in the oppressive desert summers.
And the hills over there, you can see all the mines. So we've determined after looking at photographs of historic photographs that the mill would have been right there somewhere.
Though almost none of the once impressive structure still stands today, the beehive kilns remain and can still be seen dotting the top of the hill.
Here's the kilns. That one's still complete. This one is caved in. It's also made from the native stones in the area.
These charcoal beehive kilns would be packed full of wood for a low oxygen burn, and then charcoal would be used for the smelters. As charcoal burns hotter and longer, it was a more efficient fuel for the smelters.
You can see on that one especially, see it? See the burn? How all the charcoal colored the rocks are right there? A charcoal color. That must have been from when they were burning. Yeah, you can see it really clear on this one because it's been coming down, unfortunately. And here's one we could go in. Oh, look at that. I'm sketched because it's like, there's like water and stuff in there. There's a window. You wouldn't want to be in here when those came down.
Records from 1871 and 1872 show that James Ryan and Samuel Hawks had some familiarity with the district, their names being associated with numerous mining claims in the area. Ryan and Hawks found themselves as the sole prospectors in a harsh desert. They had to rely on the geography to supply water for them and their animals. Consequently, they established a camp, New Squaw Springs, about a mile from the prospects they were working in 1875.
Some old piping, most likely water line, running up there to those buildings. Right there.
As the story goes, its veracity cannot be verified from surviving records. The trail from Squaw Springs to their prospects passed by a large rock outcropping resembling a haystack. On September 24, 1875, the men stopped at the outcropping and broke open some of the rock. To their surprise, the specimen revealed a streak of galena, an ore of lead commonly associated with silver. Ryan and Hawks, aware they'd made a rich find, staked and recorded their claim as the Bonanza Mine, putting in a 30-foot shaft. From top to bottom, the shaft displayed a rich vein of galena and silver. Given their experience with other rich ore strikes in the district, it seems both men felt the shaft would eventually pay out, and the safe bet would be to sell for a handsome but not princely sum. On February 17, 1876, Ryan and Hawks sold their claim for $25,000 to Allen G. Campbell and three others, an estimated $730,000 today. In hindsight, the sellers were right. The ore did eventually pay out after $50 million in silver had been brought to the surface.
Well, look at this. This is pretty cool. I wonder what this would have done. That's like an ore crushing ore, do you think? These are like heavy duty. Stuff here must have been part of the mill, I'm thinking. That's what makes sense, because this is in the general area.
Word of the discovery spread like wildfire. The news strike likely occupied conversations in saloons, mines, offices, and stores almost immediately, drawing attention to the area.
Here's the first stone building. Question is it 2 stories? Got railroad ties. Look at those rocks ready to come down. Wow, the rafters aren't looking too good either. So windy and cold. It's pretty cool though, first building. Again, some more rocks, you can see the construction. Round nails, so it's not that old.
As prospectors first trickled in, Campbell purchased land around the original claim and set to work platting out a new town site to be called Frisco.
Looks like there was a door right there in the back, right there a door, and then the window. You can see there, and it still has a window frame, and you can totally see how it was constructed. These rocks look like they may have, I don't know, they seem more like square shaped, like they were actually shaped. If that makes sense. Wow, look at this. Yeah, this is really cool. You can see the construction. The adobe laying right there.
Campbell and his associates would further develop the mine, now renamed the Horn Silver Mine, sinking a 280-foot shaft into solid rock and extracting 25,000 tons of ore with an average value of $100 per ton. By 1880, a rail line would eventually extend from Milford, Utah to serve the town, replacing slow and unreliable wagon trains, and helping with the shipment of water and supplies in and ore and bullion out. With the ore came the people, and by 1885, 10 years after the discovery, Frisco would boast a population of 6,000. Frisco would boom, and as you can see in this photo, it would sport hotels, grocery stores, restaurants, bordellos, assayers, bankers, and a lively assortment of miners. But this is all that remains today.
Look at this. This is really cool. You can still see what it would have looked like as it was finished in some areas where people didn't destroy it. And then you got the old window frame, and it shows some of the construction right there. You can see the bricks right there too. Like that would have been like the bank, and that would have been like the bank vault. Look at these doors. They have like a little bit of a steel frame around them. Like maybe this was a vault or some kind. Look at that there. And then we got bricks. They lined this one with bricks. Why would this door be so much shorter? Like they put something in here heavy duty. Look at this here.
To serve Frisco's thirsty souls, at least 23 saloons would sprout up, along with brothels and gambling dens. Though it can't be verified for certain, as so few buildings remain standing to this day, this collection of battered and time-tested structures still holds some resemblance to the saloons and shops that once filled Frisco. When you have miners with full pockets, an appetite for whiskey, and plenty of purveyors of the staunch brown liquid, the results are obvious. Frisco quickly gained a reputation as one of the wildest and roughest towns in the Great Basin. Almost anything went, and in those early years, calling law enforcement scarce would be an understatement.
Got some artifacts in here. Same kind of rocks that are over there at the town site. Some kind of really old can. Had a wooden floor. Had some tins on the side. I can't tell you what those tins say now though. Had a room over here that's almost gone, and a couple rooms over here. And they're about to come down.
With few or no law officers to put a lid on the out-of-control town, crime became rampant with shootings, stabbings, theft, and petty crimes becoming the norm. It was said that a murder was committed almost every day. Killings were so common, in fact, that some sources say that city officials arranged to have a wagon pick up bodies and take them to be buried on Boot Hill.
We are at the Frisco Cemetery. So we're just gonna take a quick look around. And this is the Burton Barrett. Aged 3 days, see? A lot of children buried here. There's another child, darling, we miss thee. Now, do you think back when they were buried here, back when they were like died, and this was like a booming town, that they ever imagined that it would someday look like this?
Sane people might move away, but the valuable ore kept most firmly planted in the desert town. continually thirsting for the next big payday. Lawless behavior, tending to disrupt commerce and the conduct of important business, went unaddressed until the larger mining interests finally decided enough was enough. The power brokers in Frisco would look for a lawman to bring order and decency to Frisco, casting their net far and wide until one could be found. Frisco, Utah to Pioche, Nevada spans about 125 miles as the crow flies, and in the mining town of Pioche, Frisco believed it had found its salvation. A man by the name of Pearson, likely William Pearson, would relieve the mining companies of their burdensome profits in exchange for bringing the town under control. Not much is known about Pearson from the public record, but his name does appear at least once in Nevada newspapers. The article reads, "Warning. All persons are forbid setting off any fireworks anywhere in the thickly settled portion of the town of Pioche, Lincoln County. Any person violating this order will be dealt with according to the act passed by the legislature of 1875, Section 4, an act entitled An Act of the Better Protection of Property Against Fire. For the purpose of enforcing the above order, I have appointed as special deputies Marion Richardson and William Pearson. These, together with all other officers under me, will duly enforce all the provisions of said law. Andrew Fife, Sheriff." The Pioche Daily Record, July 4, 1875. The extent of Pearson's experience as a peace officer evades us. The records of his life are scarce, often relegated to mere oral histories and a few scraps of often repeated but unsubstantiated lore. It appears that Pearson came to Frisco sometime in 1879, 4 years after we note his presence in Pioche. While we bracket those intervening years with rather gratuitous question marks, however, it is said that Pearson arrived in Frisco with no intention to build a prison, as he didn't plan on arresting anyone. Instead, he planned to address Frisco's lawlessness directly by giving people a choice. Those committing crimes could leave town or they would be shot.
So, unmarked, and we got some cowboy boots on this one. Someone left some change. Right there's a broken headstone. It's a shame that nobody comes out here and keeps it better, right, guys? See, like, again, here's another headstone with we don't know who lies there. And again, 2 more right there.
A Utah travel guide tells an intriguing story of Pearson. With the simple philosophy that dead men give no trouble, he put on a law enforcement campaign. There were no fines to be paid, no jail sentences to serve, and burial expenses were not excessive. Pearson gave a man his choice: shoot it out or leave town. Many tried to shoot it out, and Pearson had strong nerves and a quick trigger finger. He was known to have killed as many as 6 men in one night, and it finally became necessary to hire a body mover to clean up after him. The wagon made the rounds every morning and hauled away 1 or 2 corpses. They were buried without questions or funeral announcements. In some sources, this wagon is referred to by the unsavory name of the meat wagon. While some records refer to Pearson as elected, others suggest he was hired by the Horn Silver Mine, which seems the most sensible explanation since he was paid on a bounty system. Any problem Pearson took care of in his own special way came with a price, the bounty to be paid. A system like this was generally associated with large business interests. Men like Pearson were troubleshooters, literally. Where there was trouble, Pearson would shoot to end it and restore the peace, at least for a time. With his iron-fisted justice in place, much of the lawlessness in Frisco halted, and the town became a safer place, at least in this way.
There's some marks, like they may have carved these out before they put them together. I really like it when you have ones like that, though, that were clearly designed for the building. I wonder if this was a bank vault, because look at this. Look at how heavy duty that is. And then again, another kind of interesting door right here. It's really wide. See, they put these through the wall, and then they bend them on the other side so people can't pull them out right here. And then you got over here, which it just seems like they just kind of like threw it all together with different kinds of rocks. And there's a pipe up there running through, you can see.
By 1880, the Horn Silver Mine was making money hand over fist. Crime stood in abeyance, profits were good, and as usual, it seemed the good times would never end. Due to the lack of a reliable local water source and the cost of shipping water to Frisco, smelting ore into bullion took place elsewhere. Initially, the Horn Silver shipped ore to a smelter they built in Franklin near Salt Lake City in 1880. The mine transported the ore by wagon train, a long and slow process, though ultimately still profitable. Unsatisfied with the cost and time and money of freighting the ore by wagon, the Horn Silver wanted nothing more than to see the railroad come to Frisco. Mining interests and citizens had been agitating for rail service almost since the hammer drove home the Golden Spike in Promontory, Utah. For more than a decade, discoveries of precious metals, coal, and the need to move agricultural goods to market would raise waves of interest for the Iron Horse to lay tracks to that part of the state. The desire to be connected to the national rail network, along with the profits to be made shipping commodities to markets, resulted in the Utah Central Utah Southern Railroad extending their lines to Frisco in June 1880. For another 5 years, the Horn Silver Mine would extract ore from its mining properties, keeping the boomtown of Frisco riding high on good times. Unfortunately, geology and hubris would put an end to the party once and for all.
So I believe this is the mine that collapsed right here. Look at that.
In 1879, the United States Annual Mining Review and Stock Ledger called the Horn Silver Mine unquestionably the richest silver mine in the world now being worked. Frisco hummed, papers were published, business thrived, and the populace were at least coping with the town once referred to as Dodge City, Tombstone, Sodom, and Gomorrah all rolled into one. By 1885, crime had been brought under control, and the Horn Silver ran multiple work shifts every day. Early on the morning of February 12, 1885, the night shift of the Horn Silver came to the surface. The day crew, instead of descending to the depths, was told to wait due to unstable ground and tremors. Several previous cave-ins, though disruptive, proved minor, and the expectation was likely that the men would soon resume work. A few minutes after halting the descent of the day shift, the main shaft and workings down to the 7th level were sealed off. Combined with questionable timbering and shoring practices, the lower workings, unable to bear the additional weight of water-laden dirt and rock, collapsed, blocking off the most profitable part of the operation. Allegedly, the tremors from this collapse could be felt all the way in Milford, over 10 miles away.
All right, what we're looking at here is the mine. This entire thing collapsed because they did not frame it correctly, and this is all you have left. You got some mine tunnels over here. Yeah, Boulder.
It's believed that recent heavy rains and snow had destabilized the upper levels of the mine, though some sources say that the collapse was caused by the mine owners taking out too much ore while not properly timbering. To the amazement of all present, not a single life was lost. Due to the cave-in, most of the mine was closed for a year. A year later, the ruins of the lower levels had been excavated, and by 1891 the mine was once again turning a substantial profit. The Horn Silver Mine still remained one of the 8 most profitable silver mines in the United States, responsible for a large portion of the total silver mined in the United States up to that point. In spite of this fame, the amounts of ore being taken from the mine continued to drop. The town of Frisco began its inevitable decline. Unlike other mining towns, which often disappeared virtually overnight at the news of a new strike, there was no new bonanza to draw citizens to fresh ground. Politics and economic conditions elsewhere, combined with the low rate of returns from Frisco's mines, spelled doom.
It's hard to believe that this is so small that this would have been a building. I wonder if that was over on top of it right there. It had to be bigger than that though. That's just pretty cool. Is that concrete? Looks like concrete, or is it just mud? See, this one's pretty deep. I'd hate to fall. If you fell in there, you'd probably be screwed. How deep do you think that is? 10 feet? And you can see the native rock from out here that they used. And they definitely tried to like make it look nice, because as you can see, they used the same kind of rock. I think they got some kind of wires hanging out that was holding it together.
In 1893, Congress repealed the Sherman Silver Purchase Act, a piece of legislation that had required the federal government to purchase 4.5 million ounces of silver per month. Previously, the federal government would purchase silver and issue notes redeemable for silver or gold at face value. The resulting expansion of circulating currency without increases in gold reserves led to a crash in silver prices. In 1890, silver cost about $1.16 per ounce. By the end of 1894, the price cratered to 60 cents per ounce, and the U.S. Mint halted the production of silver coinage. With no guaranteed buyer of silver and the reduction in circulating silver currency, the mines had no profitable outlet for their bullion. The drop in silver prices meant circulating silver coins lost about 30 to 35% of their value. The government would no longer buy silver from the mines, and the people preferred gold to silver for their currency whenever possible. The devaluation of silver spelled the end of Frisco's mines. That end would come slowly, and the Horn Silver Mine would see declining production all the way up to 1952. But the low price of silver, the reduced workforce, and the replacement of manpower with machine power effectively led to the depopulation of Frisco. Although new ore bodies were discovered in the 1940s, silver would never again be a major player in the monetary system. So by 1928, the last Frisco resident had left, and as of 1930, the Horn Silver was no longer a major domestic producer. Other than the small presence of the mine, Frisco had officially slipped quietly into ghost town status. Today, Frisco is gone and shall remain gone, never again to become a thriving center of commerce. After its closure in 1952, the mine would be mapped, explored, prospected, and ultimately left unworked. Over the decades, the unstable subsurface geology would collapse many of the old workings. Though the mine is still owned by private interests, it's unlikely to ever be worked again. The echoes of Frisco and its wildest days live on only in yellowed pages and imaginations, while the likes of William Pearson and the frenzied town of Frisco exist only as footnotes in the history of the West.